Najee was driving his Model Y in Pembroke Pines, Florida. He was behind a pickup driver who was waiting to turn left when the driver suddenly slammed the gas. The pickup driver crashed straight into a Tesla Model X that had been approaching at high speed. Looking at the replay of the collision, the Model X can be seen approaching through the windows of the truck, so we have no idea how the pickup driver missed it. The Tesla spun a full 360 degrees, and the Falcon Wing doors opened after the impact. Incredibly, a nearby ambulance was able to respond in only 3 minutes. When the paramedics arrived, Najee left, so he doesn't know what else happened, but he told us the drivers of both vehicles seemed unhurt and able to walk away from the wreck. Chloe was driving her brand new Model 3 down Highway 19 when a U-Haul driver left their lane and hit Chloe's Tesla on the driver's side. The impact forced Chloe to strike a Jeep on her passenger side, which caused the Jeep to lose control, hit a barrier, and roll over. The U-Haul driver initially stopped, but then they hit the gas and fled the scene. Chloe immediately called 911. She wasn't hurt, but the shock she felt was nothing compared to what she was about to face when she was accused of causing the collision. Witnesses who'd stopped behind the Jeep confirmed that Chloe had left her lane and struck the Jeep, but they said nothing about the U-Haul truck. When Chloe told the police about it, they said, "What U-Haul truck? There's no U-Haul truck here." Chloe showed the police this footage, and they told her that without it, they would have found her responsible for the collision. This incident is a great example of why everyone should have a Teslacam, or at least a Dashcam. Clearwater police did follow up with the U-Haul renter, but she claimed she wasn't driving the truck during the collision, and she didn't know who was. She told the police it must have been stolen from her driveway after she left the keys in it, and these mysterious truck thieves later returned the truck and the keys to her driveway after the collision. With the police unable to prove otherwise, she wasn't held responsible for the collision, and the police closed the investigation the same day. According to them, the Teslacam footage alone isn't good enough to definitively prove the identity of the U-Haul driver. The Jeep driver was unlicensed, further complicating the insurance process. In the end, Chloe's insurance provider totaled her Model 3 after the repair estimate exceeded $30,000 US. This submitter was driving his Model Y on a Miami highway when he merged into the passing lane and began accelerating. At the same time, a driver in the exit lane also began picking up speed. I'm not sure if that's a Subaru or a Lexus, and our viewers take it very personally when we misidentify a vehicle, even going so far as to accuse us of doing it on purpose. So I'll just say that the black car in the right lane matched speed with our submitter as they approached traffic. The black car then made an unsafe lane change and collided with our submitter's Tesla, sending both vehicles out of control and taking another one out in the ensuing chaos. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Police responded to the scene and produced a report. In light of the clear video evidence, it seems obvious that the driver of the black car was responsible for the collision after making the unsafe lane change and starting the chain reaction that would wreck the 3 vehicles. Our submitter made an insurance claim, including the video footage as evidence, and the investigation is still being processed. Tim was on his way to work when the traffic on Florida's Turnpike was getting backed up as usual. Not everything was as usual that morning, as the driver of a Nissan Rogue was about to find out. The Nissan driver cut the line to merge onto I-95 by crossing a solid line and squeezing in behind Tim. Sadly for her, but thankfully for everyone else, the police were watching for exactly this sort of move. The Rogue driver was immediately pulled over by a cop, and Tim told us he laughed about the instant justice all the way to work. Disner was driving home from his father's house in Miami when it started pouring rain. After hitting a patch of standing water, he lost control and began hydroplaning. Incredibly, he made a full 360-degree spin across several lanes of the highway without hitting anyone or anything, and finished his spin facing the right direction. Disner told us he had to make some moves to stay on track, all while Tom Petty's Free Fallin' played in the background. Disner slowly drove to the nearest charging station where he stopped and examined his car, which was undamaged. He also told us he replaced his tires the next day. It was just after 2 a.m. when Aiden was driving home after hanging out with friends at his university in Tampa, Florida. Aiden's dad had just gotten a Cybertruck and he'd given his used Model S to Aiden just 4 days earlier. He stopped at a red light and told us this was one of the only times he's ever let his guard down while driving in Florida. He'd been enjoying his music when his dashboard was suddenly much farther from his face than it had been. Aiden immediately knew what happened, and he told us he started screaming and punching the steering wheel. The car immediately lost power, preventing him from accessing his registration or pulling out his Teslacam drive, both of which were in the glove box. Thankfully, the driver's door automatically released when power was lost. As Aiden got out, he expected to discover an old man apologizing for falling asleep at the wheel. Instead, it was a young driver. Aiden told us he's ashamed at how upset he got, yelling at the other driver and becoming enraged when he claimed his brakes had failed. Eventually, Aiden realized he was scaring the other driver. After all, he's 6'1", 220 pounds, and was practically screaming in the kid's face. Aiden pulled himself together, then told the other driver to sit in the median while they waited for first responders. A police officer arrived within 3 minutes of the collision after Aiden's phone automatically called 911. The officer made sure they were both okay before asking them what had happened. Eventually, another officer arrived, and the first officer reported that the other driver claimed his brakes had failed. Aiden told us the second officer literally rolled his eyes. He then asked the other driver if he'd been wearing his seatbelt, and he claimed that he had been. Aiden told us the officer replied, "Your seatbelt is so tight you could fire an arrow from it, and there's a head-shaped dent in your windshield, so we know that's not true." Thankfully, when Aiden encountered the other driver a few days later at a tow lot, he wasn't seriously injured. The same can't be said for Aiden's Tesla. His insurance provider totaled the car, which didn't surprise Aiden when he saw the damage right after the collision. Aiden told us a previous Wham Baam Teslacam video that mentioned the incredible safety record of the Tesla Model 3 was what convinced his family to get a Tesla for his mother, then another for his father. We're sure they're all extremely happy that Aiden had been in a Tesla that night. Jeremy was exiting a parking lot when he witnessed a motorcycle rider nearly get decapitated by flying groceries. Jeremy thinks the driver of the truck leaving the grocery store didn't notice the biker at first, then slammed on the brakes when she spotted him. The flying food just missed the motorcyclist, and the outcome could have been totally different if he'd been riding by just a half second later. Gigi imported a totaled Model 3 to the country of Georgia after buying it from an auction in the United States. When he discovered a flash drive plugged into the car, he started reviewing the videos, and after some digging, he found out how the Tesla had come to be totaled. We have no background information on the incident, so we'll just let you watch the video for yourself. But it sure looks like the driver had some trouble coloring inside the lines. What we can tell you is that neither autopilot nor FSD were active, as the car would definitely not have been swerving around like that if they were. While we wait for this ride to come to its unfortunate end, we can also tell you that Gigi has since fixed up the car, and according to him, it's now as good as new. Gigi spent $3,000 on parts he sourced online, so in total, he spent $4,100 to get the car running after this happened. What do you think caused this wreck? Post your theory in the comments. Tim was leaving work on his lunch break, and as he proceeded through a stop sign, he collided with a Chevy driver who turned into the same lane. The other driver leapt out of his vehicle and immediately claimed Tim had been distracted by his phone, which Tim told us wasn't true at all. They ended up calling the police to determine who was at fault. Who do you think was found responsible? Post your prediction in the comments and we'll give you the police determination at the end of the video. Fixing the damage to his Tesla cost $17,000 and it took a month to complete the repair. Speaking of being distracted by one's phone, check out what happened while Jim was driving. Jim told us it looked like the driver was looking at his phone instead of the road. The result was a double rear end as the driver locked up his wheels before sliding into a Chevy and pushing it into a Toyota. Floyd was driving his Model 3 on I-10 in Milton, Florida, cruising at around 70 miles per hour when a love seat fell out of a pickup truck in front of him. Floyd didn't see anyone hit the love seat, so he kept driving. When he caught up to the pickup driver, he was able to signal to him that he should stop. Evan is a 16-year-old Tesla driver who was driving in a construction zone when a Kia flew out in front of him. The Kia driver had been leaving a parking lot when another driver waved her through a gap in the stopped traffic. She trusted that the other driver wasn't waving her into moving traffic before pulling right into the path of Evan's Tesla. Even though someone else had told her it was safe to proceed, the Kia driver was found responsible for the collision and was cited by the Florida Highway Patrol. Strangely enough, the trooper confessed he'd done the same thing at that same intersection and he'd also been found at fault. Repairs will cost over $13,000 and so far the Tesla has spent 3 weeks in the Fort Lauderdale Tesla Collision Center. Remember, if you're in this situation, close the gap. Waving someone through isn't courteous, it's dangerous. Leaving a gap could make them feel pressured to do something unsafe, and they are the ones who will end up paying the price for it. Praveen was cruising down State Road 434 behind a white Subaru when he approached a large intersection. All the lights were green when an oncoming hatchback suddenly swerved across the intersection, cutting in front of the Subaru. With no chance to react, the Subaru slammed into the side of the black hatchback, sending it rolling. Praveen pulled over and assisted the Subaru's occupants, who were in shock. The hatchback had started smoking, but Praveen didn't see any flames. Firefighters and paramedics arrived a few minutes later, and the police closed off the intersection a few minutes after that. The Subaru driver had only bought their car 3 weeks prior, and they said they'd be replacing it with another one and installing a dash cam. If you need a dash cam for your ride, check the description for links to the ones our team uses in our own vehicles, plus exclusive coupon codes just for Wham Bam fans. Eric was taking his children to school when the driver of a pickup truck ahead of him fell asleep before veering into oncoming traffic and striking another vehicle head-on. Lots of construction workers rushed over to help, and thankfully the victim was able to get out of her vehicle uninjured. After confirming that everyone was okay, Eric continued so his kids wouldn't be late for school. Tim was on his way back to work after lunch when he ended up behind a red Honda. Yep, you already know what's about to happen. Roll the jingle.
Jump in! Honda bumped!
Tim stopped while both drivers got out to exchange information. The Honda driver was very apologetic, but the driver of the Audi was furious. Tim told us he was just excited to have his first Honda bump to send in to Wham Bam. This emitter was almost home when he allowed a pickup driver to merge in front of him. The pickup driver's wife was driving the Honda right behind him, and she didn't want to have another vehicle between them, so she tried to squeeze in too. Sadly, her attempt was unsuccessful. After sideswiping our submitter, she slammed on the brakes, causing him to Tesla tap her. All 3 drivers stopped. When police responded and viewed the Teslacam video, they predictably found the Honda driver fully responsible. Part delays caused repairs to take 3 months to complete, and the final bill, which the Honda driver's insurance provider covered, came to $5,500. Mason was driving his Model X on a sunny day in Florida, but let's be honest, isn't it always sunny in Florida? Anyway, he was driving behind a pickup pulling a trailer when another driver pulled onto the road. When the pickup driver merged into the passing lane to overtake the car, the driver of the car suddenly merged into the same lane. The pickup driver overcorrected, lost control, and ultimately collided with the car before pushing it into the oncoming lanes. Thankfully, there was no oncoming traffic, or things could have been a lot worse. Who do you think was at fault in this collision? The driver of the car definitely shouldn't have merged left, and we're pretty sure they ran a stop sign too. Mason wanted to shout out his father, Chad. After work, Daniel was headed to the gym right next to his office when he signaled to make a right turn. The driver of a pickup truck began tailgating him, and when Daniel began turning, the driver tried to overtake him inside the turn. Daniel told us he barely had time to react, but his quick maneuver to the left meant the truck only hit his Tesla's side view mirror. Daniel stopped and was able to fold his mirror back into position, and since he couldn't find any damage, he decided to let the whole thing go, after sending his footage to Wham Baam Teslacam, of course. Chris was taking his Ford F-150 to meet a buyer with his wife following him in their Model 3. But before selling it, he signaled for his wife to get behind him so he could give their Tesla one last coal roll. Actually, this wasn't intentional at all. Chris told us the truck's cruise control was set when it suddenly began smoking. After he signaled to his wife to follow him as he pulled over, he hit the accelerator, and that's when the smoke got so thick that his wife lost all visibility. Chris said this was the second time this happened on his way to meet this same buyer. After the first time, he paid a shop $800 to fix the issue, but they obviously hadn't. This time, Chris had to have the pickup towed 35 miles before the dealer told him a bad turbocharger seal would set him back another $1,600 US. With the pickup finally repaired, the same brave buyer finally bought it from Chris. He told us he'll never buy a combustion vehicle again. This submitter was driving his 6-day-old Cybertruck with only 197 miles on the odometer. After realizing he was heading the wrong direction, he stopped to make a 3-point turn. Suddenly, a white Range Rover appeared in the rear camera. Our submitter stopped for a red light while the Range Rover continued, plowing straight into the back of the Cybertruck. The driver of the Range Rover confessed she hadn't been paying attention and said she'd somehow missed the shiny steel truck directly in front of her. Thankfully, even this high-class impact didn't damage the Cybertruck too badly. It did leave some surface-level damage to the rear bumper, but our submitter told us he's already put a deposit down for a new rear bumper cover from Unplugged Performance that should arrive next month. Craig was leaving a parking lot when a pickup entering the parking lot sideswiped him before the driver took off. Craig stopped and called 911. 2 officers quickly responded, and we actually have a copy of their arrest report for the offending driver. Officer Alexander reported that he began canvassing the area for the suspect after responding to the scene. His colleague, Deputy Peach, advised that he'd spotted a white pickup with a damaged front bumper parked in front of a bar, and a man sitting directly in front of the parking lot. Officer Alexander made contact with the man, who confirmed it was his pickup before admitting he'd crashed into a Tesla. He told the officer he hadn't stopped because his license was suspended. Case closed. Even though the damage seems minimal, Craig's insurance provider still chose to total the Tesla and cut Craig a check instead of fixing it. Okay, let's get back to Tim's collision. Police arrived minutes after being called, and an officer sat in Tim's Tesla and reviewed his Teslacam footage. After watching the video, they found the Chevy driver completely responsible for the collision. Tim had been first to occupy the lane, and the Chevy driver should have turned into the rightmost lane. Well, were you correct?
Wham! Bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.